Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another round of Basis Picks. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. Now, there's a couple of cards that are sort of floating about different networks, UFC Fight Pass. I think Pro Box have got 2 on this weekend. I'm only focusing on the Matchroom card taking place on DAZN. And I'm only going to do a few of the fights on there. So I'm going to keep this one brief so you guys can enjoy your Friday nights, enjoy your Saturday morning, whenever it is that you're watching this. But yeah, let's keep things moving. As I said, going to be a fairly short episode. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the picks. Okay, so first up, we've got to talk about James Flint versus Campbell Hatton 2, the rematch. The first fight took place earlier on this year. I believe it was in March, the 23rd. I think it was 23rd of March. Campbell Hatton lost unanimous decision. Very, very correct. I'm glad that the right person did get the victory in that fight. It was a fairly fun fight to watch though. Now, Campbell Hatton has since moved from his uncle Matthew Hatton to Ben Davison and the Ben Davison Performance Center. I believe that's in Essex somewhere. Could be slightly off there, but I'm sure it's in and around that area. But I've not actually watched any of Campbell Hatton's fights prior to the first one, so I don't know what improvements he may have made or he hasn't. I also haven't seen James Flint's fight that he had after that. I know he's been active. He did have a fight in, I believe it was June, on the 29th of June. So he's, fresh. He's got there's no ring rust for him to shake off, and I would assume that Campbell has also had himself a good warm-up fight since then. But again, because I haven't seen it, I can't actually no wait, I don't think Campbell's fought. So I think he moved trainers, but he hasn't had a fight. So this is literally, he's running it straight back on his side, but Flint's had a fight since, so he's the fresher of the two. So I mean, look, based off of what happened in the first fight, Campbell Hatton was soundly beaten, no head movement, wasn't using the jab effectively, basically just walking onto backhands for fun, head getting popped back with the left hand, with the jab hand. It was just it was a bit of a nightmare. It's hard for me to now give an accurate prediction of how it goes, because I haven't seen anything different from him. Flint is going to be Flint. He's going to do the same things he did last time. He's not big on power, but he's very good on movement, technique, sort of just the basic fundamentals that you need at that sort of southern area / English level, competitor. With no real way to know what improvements Campbell Hatton has made or not, I can't in good faith pick him. The Ben Davison effect is an interesting dynamic, but it's not something that I can wholeheartedly count on. Ben does kind of blow hot and cold on occasion, depending on who he's got in front of him, and I think a lot of the time he needs someone with certain attributes to get the best out of them. I don't know if that's Campbell. So for the purpose of this one, I'm saying it's going to be a repeat job. I think that Flint beats Campbell Hatton again, and I think that then becomes the end of Campbell Hatton's run under the Matchroom banner, or at least on the television portion of their bouts. But I'm sure Boxer or Wasserman will pick him up after that. Next, we've got Pat McCormack versus William Herrera. Pat is, I believe, 5-0 with 4 KOs. And Herrera, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's like 16-3 with something like 6 or 7 KOs. So not the biggest of punchers, which will suit Pat McCormack to the ground. I can see Pat looking to take chances in this one. He usually does. I feel like he's gonna look to sort of set on the periphery, like just on that edge of range, ever so slightly, but then he's going to be looking to work his way into the fight. I don't think he's going to try and blow Herrera away from the first moment. I feel like he's going to try to work his way in, employ a lot of body shots. I feel like he's going to really be trying to dig to the body early, almost like he's running drills, trying to sort of work for future opponents. But I do see him winning the fight. I think Herrera's going to be game in the first couple of rounds. I think he's going to try to look to tuck up in sort of rounds 3, 4, 5, then maybe try and sort of go for one last salvo in around about the 6th round or so. But I think he's going to open up. He's going to probably get caught with a counter, put down. So my prediction is I do think that Pat McCormack will win this fight. I think he's going to win it via stoppage, and I think it's going to be about around 6 or 7. That's my prediction on that one. Now, Bosti's co-main is Reese Botti and Michael Gomez Jr. So it's Reese the Bomber Botti, and I actually think that this could arguably be the fight of the night in terms of entertainment. Reese Botti has already got a fight of the year contender this year with Liam Dillon, which took place in February at the Indigo 2 in London, in Greenwich. I remember I was there. It was a really good fight. It was probably it's still, I think, one of the best fights I've watched live in a long time. I've seen some good ones, but that was, that came before Frazier Clark and Fabio Wardley, but I think that one may have it beaten on just pure action. Now, Michael Gomez Jr., very tough, very durable, but, sort of a bit limited in skills. Same with Reese Botti. Then neither of them are like technical excellence, but what they are, they both have got high work rates. They both have got fairly decent shot selections. I do think Botti is the bigger puncher of the two. Gomez, I think he's only had something like 5 or 6 stoppages in his 21 victories or 22 fights overall. Now, he's never been stopped. That being said, there's a first time for everything, but I don't actually think he's going to get stopped in this fight. I do think it's going to be a scenario where ultimately he has a real good goal sort of in the first half, but Botti just kind of manages to just keep barreling forward, and when Gomez thinks that he hasn't got much left to give, I think that's where Botti is going to start to take over, and Gomez he's going to try to tuck up to survive the rounds. He's still going to try and be competitive, but I feel like the overall fight and the will to win will kind of get beaten out of him by about around 8 or 9. It's for the British and Commonwealth titles, I do believe. So it's a 12 rounder. I don't think he's going to look to get stopped in this fight, and even though Bolotti's got power, I think Gomez is good enough that he's going to be able to avoid some of those harder shots later on when he's a bit more weary. So I do see it getting to points, but I do see Reese Botti winning via probably a unanimous decision, just through to work rate, maybe hurting Gomez Jr. and sort of keeping him holstered from earlier on in the bout. That's sort of my way of looking at it. Now, moving on to the main event, which is Jack Catterall versus Regis Prograis. Catterall, I believe, is 29-1. Yeah, I think 29-1. I think with 13 KOs. And Regis Prograis, if I remember correctly, is something like, I think he's 29-2. So I think he's literally only had one fight more, but he's got like 24 KOs on his record. Now, Regis hasn't looked good in his last couple of fights. I think that's clear to see for most people. That being said, he has been fighting against people that are, movers, that are, taller, rangier, good footwork, like to either use the periphery of the ring or have good enough footwork that he's just not really strong enough to close the gap on. Jack Catterall is a little bit different in that sense. He has got good movement, he has got good footwork, and he does You know, he does stop you from really being able to kind of set your feet to get shots off. But whereas someone like Devin Haney can take that half step back and keep you behind the long arms and the long range, and someone like Danielito Zorrilla had just good footwork and be able to get in and out of the way and switch stances and pivot and all of that. Regis Prograis and Jack Catterall are a bit closer matched in terms of the footwork and the movement. Catterall, while he has better footwork overall, is not as fast as those guys, nor does he have the energy and capacity to be able to keep moving and keep active for sort of each minute of every round. So there will be times where he will try to tuck up on the ropes or in the corner before sort of trying to spin out and sort of get out of there, while also obviously maybe throwing off one or two shots to get his opponent's respect. I do think he's going to have enough power for Regis to not just be able to walk in the front door unattended, but what I do think is that Regis is going to be able to hang with him a lot easier than he was able to hang with Devin Haney and Danielito Zorrilla. I think in the first couple of rounds especially, I think Regis is going to have quite a bit of success. I think Jack is not going to be boxing and moving as he normally does. I feel like he's going to try to hold his feet a little bit more in those first couple of rounds to try and gain respect and show that he's got power, that you don't just walk in on and you without paying a price. I don't know exactly what Regis's punch resistance is like at the moment. He's never been a chinny individual, but constantly making that 140 weight, has that taken much out of him? We're not sure. I guess we'll find out. I do think though that from about round 4 onwards, I do think that Jack Catterall is going to start to establish a very firm foothold in the fight, start moving a bit more, offsetting the power shots from Regis by just shifting himself probably to his left hand side, making Regis have to sort of use his right hand lead more than his backhand, as they're both southpaws. And I think in that moment, Jack will be a lot more comfortable on Regis's right hand side, or as opposed to the left. And I think he's just going to keep making Regis have to turn and reset in that motion, while also throwing out his 1-2s, getting on the inside, throwing to the body, trying to shoot back out just before the counter comes. And I think he's going to have quite a bit of success with that, especially down in those sort of middle to late rounds. I think about round 10, 11 will be where it gets interesting, like when Jack properly slows back down again, and Regis, if he's got enough energy left to just be able to step in the center along with Catterall and sort of just try to exchange, probably maybe even take some chances and some risks that he wasn't taking before, feeling that he could potentially be down on the cards. I know that he wasn't keen about fighting in the UK again based on the last time, so he's got to be looking for take it out of the judges' hands. But I think just because Jack Catterall has got enough, I feel like he's got enough survival instincts in him, he's got enough good fundamentals to where he can keep himself comfortable and composed in those moments. Even if he ends up losing some of those rounds, I think he'll still do enough to maybe nick 1 or 2 towards the back, sort of the back half of the fight. And ultimately, I do think it's going to go to the scorecards, and I think while Regis would have done a better job than he's done in his last couple, I feel like while it may possibly be close, I feel like it will still be fairly clear that Jack Catterall won the fight. I do think he will get it via a unanimous decision. I'm thinking like a 115, 113, 115, 114 type affair. I think it's going to be really close on the cards. I don't know why. Again, based on the last couple of fights, I probably shouldn't think that, but I just think Regis is gonna. I think Jack is a bit more tailored to Regis than the other two were, and while I don't think he's gonna have the necessary style to be able to beat Jack Catterall, I think he's gonna have more of an advantage in this one than he had in the previous, and I think like we're going to see that in the ring. So that's my prediction. I think Jack Catterall will win the fight, unanimous decision, but very, very close on the cards. Maybe even to the point some people believe that it should have gone the other way. But yeah, look, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think with regards to this one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I'll catch you on the next round of content. But for right now, Spaces Picks locked.